Welcome to the Timeless Archive channel. Today's topic is the Battle of Stalingrad, one of the bloodiest wars in history. Stalingrad. Only 24 hours. A soldier fighting in Stalingrad survived on average only one day. It was such a deadly, horrifying battle that it resembled no other in history. This fight, which would change the course of World War II, wasn't just about cities. It was a war that shattered an entire people. In November 1941, the German army had reached the outskirts of Moscow. But the winter came so harshly that the massive tank engines froze, and soldiers could no longer feel their fingers. At -20 degrees, even breathing became almost impossible. Still, Stalin refused to abandon Moscow. "This city will be defended to the last man," he declared. Meanwhile, the Germans had another plan. Hitler knew that to win the war, he needed oil. He set his sights on the vast oil fields of the Caucasus. The new operation was called Fall Blau, or Case Blue. Its goal was to seize both the Volga River and the Caucasus region. This massive campaign would involve 1.3 million soldiers and 1,500 aircraft. The army was divided into two groups. Army Group A would advance south to capture the oil fields of Baku. Army Group B would march east to level Stalingrad to the ground. But the Soviets had an even crazier plan. They burned their own oil fields and bombed their own roads and cities to deny the Germans any advantage. So as the German army pushed towards Stalingrad, they marched nearly alone, battling hunger and the brutal cold at every step. But nothing had truly begun yet. The Trap Titans. Under the command of General Friedrich Paulus, the German 6th Army approached Stalingrad and clashed with Soviet forces near the Don River. It took an entire month just to capture the western bank of the river. That delay gave the Soviets precious time to prepare. The city's defense would be led by General Vasily Chuikov. The people of Stalingrad were ordered not to flee. Women, children, the elderly, everyone had to stay and defend their homes. On August 23, 1942, 600 German aircraft appeared on the horizon. After hours of bombing, 40,000 civilians were dead. Buildings collapsed. The streets were reduced to ash. Yet the Soviet soldiers never retreated. They defended every street, every building, every inch of ground. A German soldier, Wilhelm Hoffmann, wrote in his diary, "There was a Russian behind every stone. We can never fully clear them out." The Russians were so close to the Germans that artillery and air support became useless. Any strike risked hitting their own men. The city had turned into a ruined labyrinth, and death lurked everywhere. Soviet Lieutenant Anton Dragin described it in his journal. "At every step there is blood, smoke, and exhaustion. We no longer even feel the passing of time." From the eastern bank of the Volga River, Soviet artillery gave distant support, but there was no food, little ammunition, and morale was collapsing. Chuikov told of one desperate act. A soldier ran through the flames and jumped onto a German tank. He threw a bottle onto its engine cover. The tank caught fire, and so did he, but the tank stopped. Scenes like this horrified German troops and broke their morale. A Luftwaffe pilot wrote in his journal, "These people aren't human, they're made of stone." The encirclement and turning point. As winter set in, the war began to change. In November 1942, the Soviets launched a massive counterattack, Operation Uranus. The plan was to completely encircle the German 6th Army and support the defenders inside Stalingrad. Over 1 million Red Army soldiers took part. In just 3 days, the Germans were fully surrounded. Their connection to the outside world was gone. Hitler ordered Paulus, "You will fight to the last man." But things were far from what Berlin imagined. The Soviets had total control of the skies. German aircraft could no longer bring supplies or evacuate the wounded. The sky was filled with Soviet planes, especially the IL-2 flying tank, tearing German positions apart. Hunger, disease, freezing cold. The nightmare of the Sixth Army lasted until January 1943. In the end, Paulus surrendered. He disobeyed Hitler's order not to surrender because there was simply nothing left to fight with. A German soldier later said, "There were no winners in this war." Everyone lived the same nightmare, the cost of a city. Stalingrad wasn't just a city, it was a turning point in history. For the first time, the German army suffered a crushing defeat. The Soviets were no longer defending, they were advancing, attacking, reclaiming. The command that once said, "Not one step back," had turned into a story of victory. After Stalingrad, the Red Army never stopped. They chased the Germans all the way to Berlin. And the story of this great war was never the same again. This is the story of Stalingrad, a city's destruction, a nation's resistance, and a battle that proved